In a barren land, a woman named Chloe, a powerful witch, is on the run with her pupil, Adonis. They are escaping from humans, who have turned against witches, making their lives dangerous. While fleeing, Adonis questions why they don't just eliminate the humans who are after them, but Chloe refuses. Suddenly, the Imperial guards of the Redia Empire appear and confront them. Adonis, frustrated that Chloe doesn't let him fight them alone, he wants a chance to prove his abilities to her. Meanwhile, King Godi learns that his soldiers have located Chloe. Determined not to lose her, he orders the use of a new weapon. One capable of transporting people across distances, even witches, which Chloe realizes is in use as they're suddenly teleported. The king, confident in his new technology, addresses the people, declaring that they no longer need to fear witches or magic. Upon arrival, Adonis tries to attack but is captured by the guards. Seeing her pupil caught, Chloe angrily threatens the Empire with her ice magic. However, her powers suddenly vanish, leaving her helpless. The Kaiser reveals they have developed a device that can nullify the powers of witches, making it easier to hunt them down. Chloe, realizing the dire situation, begs the Kaiser to release Adonis, claiming he is just a regular human whom she abducted to make him her servant. She offers to accept any conditions, but instead of showing mercy, the Kaiser prepares to shoot Chloe. Unable to assist because of the nullifying device, Adonis is left powerless and furious. Eventually, the Kaiser orders Chloe's execution and instructs his guards to ensure she doesn't survive. 10 years later, in a prison within the Redia Empire, two women, Doroka and Anna, discuss the worsening world where humans continue to fight despite the supposed peace after the elimination of witches. When Anna's number is called for transport, Doroka switches numbers with her to protect her. Doroka is then taken to the prison warden, who intends to sell her to the nobles. After a brief encounter, Doroka seizes the warden's phone and uses it to unlock all the prison cells. While escaping, she stumbles upon a heavily guarded cell containing a now grown-up Adonis, imprisoned for years. Adonis, after escaping, quickly defeats the guards and frees Doroka from her chains. Meanwhile, at the National Security Bureau, Director Yamato receives a report that the royal prison is in chaos, so he orders Eckhout to check the situation, giving him permission to carry weapons. Vice Director Yuki reminds Eckhout to take the task seriously, as the king is trying to maintain peace and they cannot afford to bring shame. At the prison, the warden is terrified because weapons have been stolen, and he fears a large-scale disruption, especially since the stolen weapon belongs to Adonis. Adonis, now reunited with his magical pen, begins to wreak havoc using summoning magic. Meanwhile, Eckhout arrives at the prison but finds no trace of Adonis. He receives a new report about a building under attack. After killing the warden, she rushes to the site. Adonis, wandering through the city, cannot stop thinking about Chloe. Even after 10 years, his anger and memories of her haunt him. He summons a giant robot with his magic and begins destroying the city, heading towards the royal castle for revenge. Yamato, realizing the situation is worsening, orders his troops to be on alert. As the giant robot approaches the kingdom, Yamato inquires about a magical suppression device that was supposed to be in the basement, though it may be damaged. Yamato orders Yuki to check and try to activate it. Adonis continues his rampage, destroying the city little by little, executing a plan he had devised while in prison to take down the kingdom using his magic. He summons more magical weapons and even kills civilians.
脳内における学術法の最適解を解くための最高の環境だった。魔法を操る唯一の術で、なお魔法のメカニズムを理解し体系化し、会得は容易ではない。10年前 あの場所にいた者。
彼女を殺したのはお前国に生きこの国の恩恵を受ける全ての人類は
Echout reports to Yamato that he has found Adonis, who is standing on the hand of the giant robot. Yamato orders an airstrike, which destroys the robot, and Adonis falls to the ground. However, instead of surrendering, Adonis grows angrier and begins slaughtering anyone nearby. At the palace, King Godi hears the chaos outside and asks the queen what is happening. The queen reassures him, saying it's just noise and that the kingdom remains strong under his leadership. Meanwhile, Yamato learns that his forces have been defeated. A civilian approaches Adonis as he prepares to kill a captured soldier, but Doroka suddenly appears and orders him to stop. She argues that not everyone in the kingdom deserves to die, but Adonis, in his fury, ignores her and kills the soldier. Adonis, consumed by rage, declares that he will destroy all humans, whether they are from the kingdom or not. Doroka tries to reach Adonis's heart, telling him that Chloe would not want to see him like this. Adonis becomes suspicious, thinking Doroka is trying to distract him to allow for reinforcements, but Doroka is honest and admits that she is also a sorceress. She explains that sorcerers are not completely extinct, and they could not save Chloe in the past because they were focused on saving themselves. However, she claims that Chloe can still be revived if Adonis is willing to help her. Adonis, still haunted by memories of Chloe, agrees to follow Doroka. Just as they begin to move, Doroka is suddenly shot from behind by Echout, who had fired from a distance. Doroka falls with severe injuries, which only intensifies Adonis's rage. He immediately asks Doroka what he should do to revive Chloe, but before she can respond, a group of city guards surrounds them. They believe Adonis has no chance of winning, and Echout thinks his mission is complete, she reporting back to Yamato. However, Adonis, in a heightened emotional state, begins to use his magic again. Despite the guards' relentless attacks, their bullets are ineffective, with Adonis deflecting them and using their own ammunition to kill them one by one.
The witches.
Don't you dare screw with me, you witch!
Only one guard remains, but as he approaches, Echout attempts another shot from a building. This time, Adonis successfully stops the bullet, redirecting it with even greater force, killing Echout instantly. Meanwhile, in the basement, Yuki discovers an anti-magic device, but it is guarded by Tita, the director of the Imperial Research Bureau. Tita warns Yuki against activating the device, which sparks Yuki's curiosity. She calls Yamato to hear Tita's reasoning. Tita explains that the anti-magic device releases particles that damage human cells, a phenomenon linked to a disease affecting soldiers who had hunted witches 10 years prior. These particles harm humans more severely in the absence of witches who could restore the natural balance. Tita also reveals that the king's illness was caused by these particles. Despite Tita's warnings, Yuki decides to activate the device, causing Adonis's magic to disappear. Tita quickly deactivates it and reports to Yamato that they are fine, although they are secretly injured by the particles. Tita stresses the importance of defeating witches without relying on such devices, as they could ultimately harm them. Yamato decides to send his troops to attack Adonis, who has let down his guard. However, a building above them collapses. One soldier manages to approach Adonis and decapitates him. The city guards celebrate, thinking they've defeated Adonis, but Yamato, cautious, orders his troops to focus on helping the injured citizens and retrieving Adonis's body for examination. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, King Godi announces the victory over the witch's disciple, proclaiming that the kingdom is the peak of human civilization and no witch can defeat them. Time passes, and a woman named Eri visits a memorial for those harmed by Adonis's attack. Among the victims is her boyfriend. However, instead of helping her boyfriend that time, Eri leaves him and becomes distracted taking pictures of Adonis's body, finding him impressive. From behind, a man, the deputy director of the National Intelligence Agency, observes her phone and orders his men to arrest Eri, suspecting her of being a potential traitor. Meanwhile, Karmi, the head of the intelligence agency, inspects Adonis's body and realizes it is a fake. After some time has passed, it is revealed that Adonis is still alive and hidden somewhere. A woman named Apelia is trying to restore his memories, which causes Adonis great pain. Eventually, he recalls the events leading up to his near execution, where the person approaching him was Anna, who used magic to duplicate her own body. She explains that she and Doroka are witches sent to free Adonis from his prison. Apelia then uses her magic to pull Adonis into a different place. Adonis, still confused, asks about their identities and the location they're in. Apelia explains that all witches know about Chloe, a kind and powerful witch who used to live in the land of witches. However, Chloe was exiled for teaching magic to humans. Apelia returns Adonis's specially crafted weapon, but Adonis soon realizes that he's no longer on Earth. Apelia takes him to see a large tree, called the Mito tree, which is said to have been blessed by the gods. This tree is where witches are born. Humans are born from human parents, but witches are born from this tree. Unfortunately, all the other Mito trees were destroyed by humans, leaving only one. As Adonis gazes at the tree, he feels like he sees Chloe there and wonders if she could be revived through the Mito tree. However, Apelia explains that it's not Chloe but a new witch who is about to be born. The key to bringing Chloe back lies in Adonis's memories of her. Through magic, he can transfer his memories of Chloe to the new witch, who will then become Chloe. Apelia asks Adonis to agree to begin the ritual if he's ready. Later, while Adonis is alone, Anna approaches angrily, upset that Adonis didn't thank her or acknowledge the sacrifice Doroka made for him. Despite her anger, Adonis remains indifferent and leaves. Anna accuses him of being selfish, but Adonis reveals that he already knows the witch's plans. Doroka had told him that Apelia intended to use him and Chloe to attack humans. Apelia planned to capture humans and turn them into slaves, teaching them magic through a special pen like Adonis's. She also wanted to revive Chloe, as only Chloe could properly use the magical pen. Adonis explains that witches aren't much different from humans. They may be skilled in magic, but they still have bad intentions. Anna asks if Adonis will still help them, and Adonis says that he only wants to bring Chloe back and will follow whatever decision Chloe makes, even if it means fighting the witches. Apelia prepares the ritual to bring Chloe back to life. Adonis, ready to proceed, steps forward and uses a special magic, the nostalgia writing, which releases all his memories of Chloe and merges them with the new witch in the Mito tree.
This possible?
Right.
Nostalgic memories.
Me neither. Chloe. You. So now.
Thank you.
Apelia appeared very happy because the ritual was a success. However, when the sorceress was born, it turned out that it wasn't Chloe who appeared, but Doroka. Doroka herself was very shocked. She just realized that she was in a land of witches, even though she had previously died from a gunshot. Adonis mentioned that Doroka had saved him during the Empire, so now he was repaying them. Apelia immediately became furious because Adonis didn't bring Chloe back to life as they had planned. They had saved Adonis, healed his wounds, and ensured his safety, but Adonis betrayed their efforts. Apellia suspected that Doroka had told Adonis something, and Adonis calmly replied that the decision not to revive Chloe was his own. Suddenly, light appeared around them. It turned out that Adonis had summoned human troops to that place.
No, that can't be possible. Adonis!
Oh, you didn't know? You're looking at a double S threat level. The humans are mine to hunt down and slaughter to extinction. So you just sit.
The Mito tree.
A witch's training. No matter. Immolation engaged.
Oxygen levels suitable. Retracting.
The human forces were led by Yamato, who arrived in full battle armor. The witches began to panic, and one of them rushed to put out the fire at the Mito tree. However, another human appeared from behind and killed him. Apellia then ordered all the witches to prepare for battle. Yamato charged forward with his sword and attacked Adonis, but Adonis easily cornered him. Meanwhile, the witches began to show their magical powers. Apellia herself used her law of nature magic, lifting all the humans into the air and destroying them. But from that, a second wave of human troops appeared through teleportation. Apellia realized that humans were trying to defeat them by continuously sending more soldiers. Where Tita is in a meeting with the directors. She reveals that witches still exist, but now they live on the moon. 10 years ago, the witches escaped to the moon using human technology and created a protective spell to make them hard to trace. Hearing this, the directors became furious. They couldn't accept that Tita was only realizing this now, especially since she had received a large budget to research witches. At that moment, the National Intelligence Director tried to calm them down, saying that this time, he would resolve the witch problem. After the meeting, Tita went to meet Yamato, who was watching over his sister, Yuki. Yuki was inside a healing pod, and Yamato said that he wouldn't stop until all witches were eliminated. Back in the present, Yamato was resolute in his determination. He immediately increased his battlesuit's power to 500%, making him even stronger. With his sword, he unleashed a long slash that took down many of the witches, including Apellia. On the other side, Doroka was saved by Anna using death cancel magic. Unfortunately, Anna didn't manage to avoid an attack from Yamato in time and died. Yamato reported that he had already defeated almost all the witches and that only one target remained. Adonis, the sorcerer's disciple. Adonis didn't stay quiet. He quickly used his metal battlesuit to attack Yamato, injuring him. But Yamato caught Adonis's hand and quickly repaired his sword. Yamato's attack was once again evaded by Adonis. Seeing Adonis's unwavering spirit, the remaining witches rallied, ready to attack again. But suddenly, a third wave of human forces arrived and quickly wiped out the remaining witches. Meanwhile, Yamato remained focused on fighting Adonis. Finally, he managed to injure Adonis with his sword. However, Adonis was ready with his magic. He cast a spell to create a large sword and immediately severed Yamato's arm. Despite being wounded, Yamato quickly stopped the bleeding using his battlesuit's ability and then moved forward to confront Adonis, who was now on the ground, ready to finish him off. But suddenly Doroka used magic. Her love magic made all humans stop moving, because Ritu was there. Adonis looked relieved, realizing that sitting had such powerful abilities. He immediately ordered Doroka to finish off Yamato, but Doroka instead offered peace to Yamato. She asked him to promise not to attack the witches again. This offer made Adonis extremely angry. He disagreed with Doroka releasing humans so easily, especially after Yamato had killed Anna and many other witches. At the same time, Yamato managed to break free from Doroka's love magic and immediately attacked her without mercy, believing that witches only caused disasters for humanity. Doroka, feeling defeated, used her love magic again and demanded that Yamato retreat and withdraw his troops. However, Adonis appeared from behind and immediately killed Yamato. Afterward, Adonis suggested that Doroka team up with him. According to Adonis, Doroka's power could become a weapon to destroy humanity in other places. Meanwhile, Emperor Goti, who was on Earth with his queen, received reports about Yamato and his team trying to eliminate the witches. But now they had lost contact and didn't know what had really happened. Emperor Goti, calmly but firmly, said that he didn't care about the other reports and only wanted to hear that all the witches had been eliminated. One of his soldiers reported that the last information from Yamato stated that he had killed all the witches, including Adonis. The emperor was thrilled to hear this and asked his queen to praise his achievements. But who would have thought that a big secret would be revealed? The queen was actually a witch.
Fire and creation bear witness! I finally killed the last of them! Thank you! Thank you! I love my...
Deteriorating, but he's lost his mind.
No need. Can be as clingy as a pup sometimes. Silly boy.
Wyatt did his very best for me.
There,
Never
there.
let go of me.
It's no easy. Of course you'd be unstable. Who's a good boy for hunting the witches?
Me.
Yourself now.
The queen used her love magic to tell Emperor Goti to take his own life. She said that he was no longer needed. Under the influence of the love magic, Emperor Goti walked to the edge and jumped to his death. The soldiers who witnessed this realized that the queen was a witch, but before they could report it, they too were affected by the queen's love magic. At that moment, Sagi appeared from behind and said that he agreed with what the queen had done. He believed Emperor Goti was just a puppet who was no longer of use. It was then that the queen's identity was revealed. Her name was Dorothy. She ordered Sagi to bring Adonis' head, and this time, she didn't want to be deceived with a fake head like last time. Meanwhile, in the witch's land, Doroka, who had been invited by Adonis, refused to join him. Rejected, Adonis chose to eliminate the remaining human soldiers mercilessly. When Doroka tried to use her magic, Adonis threatened to kill her if she dared to resist. After that, Adonis used Yamato's face and voice, contacting Yamato's team on Earth, and informed them that all the witches had been eliminated. However, all the human soldiers were also dead, and he was the only one who survived. He instructed them to report this to the emperor and bring him back to Earth. Tati, who saw the message, immediately realized that it wasn't Yamato speaking. A teleportation light appeared, ready to take them to Earth. Opalia, who was still conscious, finally realized that everything had been planned by Adonis. He had intentionally lured humans to that location to eliminate the witches, then returned to Earth using human technology. Meanwhile, on Earth, Tita was ready with her troops to ambush Adonis at the teleportation point. Unfortunately, Adonis didn't appear at the designated spot because he had changed the coordinates of his teleportation. Tita was incredibly frustrated, as she couldn't avenge Yamato's death. Adonis and Doroka eventually arrived at a new location. Before being teleported, Adonis had ordered the system to alter their coordinates. He then suggested that Doroka accompany him to the city to plan his revenge, but Doroka refused. She believed that Adonis was only focused on vengeance, whereas she hoped he could become a bridge between humans and witches. Adonis, still burning with rage, responded that there was nothing left for him except revenge. The only thing he cared about now was avenging the Empire. Doroka tried to stop him, fearing that Adonis would destroy himself if he kept focusing on vengeance. But Adonis said he was doing this because he didn't want to forget his feelings for Clue. He feared that if he stopped seeking revenge, his memories of Clue would fade away. However, at that moment, Adonis collapsed due to the wounds he had sustained. From a distance, a group of people from the desert, led by someone named Punch, approached them. Doroka immediately asked the group for help. When Adonis woke up, he found himself in their settlement. Punch explained that this place was a refuge for those who had escaped the Empire. Adonis could hear Doroka's voice calling him, so he immediately approached her, only to find that Doroka was busy learning to ride a motorcycle. Punch then ordered his group to prepare a welcoming feast for Adonis and Doroka. That evening, they all ate and drank together. Doroka busied herself serving everyone as a gesture of gratitude for saving Adonis. However, Adonis chose to keep his distance. Suddenly, everyone lost consciousness. Doroka immediately realized that Adonis had to be involved in this somehow. But Adonis insisted that he hadn't poisoned them. He had merely altered the alcohol formula into a sedative. Doroka quickly tried to stop him, sensing that he was about to do something to the people in the settlement. But Adonis assured her that he didn't intend to kill them. He saw them as lower-class people who had fled the Empire, so he chose to leave the place rather than waste time there. Adonis also told Doroka not to follow him anymore. He believed they no longer suited each other. He couldn't be like Doroka, who could still laugh even after losing someone. He felt it was better if they parted ways. The next morning, Punch approached Doroka, who appeared deeply saddened. Punch knew that Doroka had likely just been abandoned by Adonis. He then shared a story from his past. 10 years ago, Punch had been saved by Chloe and Adonis. He was certain that Adonis was still mourning Chloe's departure. According to Punch, a man's happiness lies in having someone to fight for, even if it means battling the world. He also said that Doroka could never resolve the question of whether revenge was right or wrong. Adonis had already chosen his path of revenge, even if it meant his own death. Now it was Doroka's turn to decide what she wanted to do. Doroka ultimately decided that she wouldn't let Adonis die alone. Meanwhile, as Adonis was walking, he suddenly noticed someone approaching. He immediately got into a defensive stance, ready for a fight. But it turned out to be Doroka. She had decided to accompany Adonis on his journey and adventure. A few days later, the kingdom of Redia held a ceremony to welcome their new leader. They expressed their deep gratitude to Emperor Godi, who had brought great progress to humanity, to the point where humans no longer needed the help of witches. To carry forward Emperor Godi's spirit, the new leader of Redia was Queen Dorothy. Dorothy then took the stage at a performance, singing for the crowd. Not only that, but she also used her love magic during the performance, which caused the men in the audience to instantly fall in love with her. However, behind the scenes, some of Dorothy's followers began to attack and eliminate Tita and her guards. Elsewhere, Sagi was preparing to search for Adonis. However, since Adonis had destroyed Yamato's tracking device, Sagi could no longer track him. So, he was forced to search manually. Meanwhile, Adonis, who was now with Doroka, reminded her that she needed to be ready to follow his path. After all, Adonis was set on completing his mission of revenge, and Doroka was not allowed to stop him. He often asked Doroka why, when they first met, she didn't use her powers to capture him. After all, if she had used her powers, Doroka could have easily brought him to the land of the witches. Doroka simply replied that she didn't want their first encounter to be like that. They finally arrived in a small town called Sanlin, but the place seemed very strange. It was completely empty, with no people in sight. They decided to investigate the town. Before starting, Adonis asked Doroka what she had in her bag. Doroka explained that Punch had prepared a lot of supplies for them, including food, drink, and equipment for resting. They began to explore the town, but Adonis felt something was off. The town didn't show any signs of a battle, yet it was eerily quiet. They eventually entered a large building. Upon reaching the second floor, a figure suddenly appeared behind Doroka. She was startled, thinking it was a ghost, but Adonis, remaining calm, checked and found that it was just a hologram. They continued exploring the building until they reached a prison. There, they heard the sound of singing. When they approached, they found a man singing alone. He was startled upon seeing Adonis and Doroka, thinking that no one was left in the town. Doroka explained that they were just travelers passing through. The man then asked what they were doing in the town, but instead of answering, Adonis asked him why he was there, given that everyone else had left the town. The man explained that he couldn't leave because he was a prisoner. After seeing the man's condition, Adonis decided they should leave, but before they did, the man spoke again. He said that the people of Sanlin had all left the town because they didn't want to live like the ancient ones anymore. They had all moved to a more modern city. Outside, Doroka suggested that they should help the man. She wanted to give him food and set him free from the prison, but Adonis explained that the prison wasn't even locked. What the man needed wasn't food or freedom, he needed peace and time to be with his deceased partner. Adonis felt that the town of Sanlin was now just for the two of them, so he suggested they leave and head to the next city. On the other hand, the man truly didn't want to leave the prison. His reason was that he wanted to remain with his partner, who had passed away. His partner had been imprisoned there for being accused of being a witch. Unable to save her, the man had decided to stay in the prison, to be close to his partner even in death. After a while, Adonis and Doroka finally arrived in another town called Mamuda. Before entering, Doroka reminded Adonis to be cautious. She was worried that there might be armed guards inside the town who could harm him. However, once they entered, they found the town empty once again, with no signs of life. Adonis became frustrated as he was once again unable to find any humans. Suddenly, Doroka told Adonis to stop because she saw a woman. Doroka immediately rushed to help the woman, who appeared to be injured, but it turned out that the woman was not human, she was a robot. The robot quickly attacked Doroka, but Adonis acted fast and managed to save her by destroying the robot. Adonis then explained that it was just a mechanical puppet, commonly used by humans. However, as they moved further into the town, they heard the sound of another puppet in a nearby building. Adonis decided to investigate, but before entering, he told Doroka to stay outside. He didn't want her following him because she often acted impulsively. Doroka, Left alone outside, started to feel scared and decided to secretly follow Adonis. She figured that even if he found out, he wouldn't be angry. But when Adonis noticed her trailing behind him, he became very angry. Doroka quickly apologized, explaining that she was afraid to be alone outside. She said it would be better for them to stay together. Besides, Doroka was the one carrying their supplies, so logically, it was better for them to stay together. Reluctantly, Adonis agreed and allowed Doroka to follow him. They continued their search and eventually found a room with a very strange smell. Inside, there were still several mechanical puppets. Adonis swiftly moved to destroy all the remaining robots in the room. Meanwhile, two ninjutsu users, 5 and 6, were running through the city. They encountered some guards from the Redia Empire and immediately decided to eliminate them. Adonis told Doroka that the people in this city seemed to prefer mechanical robots as their companions. They were even willing to trade their children and wives just to obtain a robot. Since no children were born in the city, the men there had started to decay, and the city itself had fallen into ruin. Adonis and Doroka then attempted to deactivate the remaining mechanical puppets that were piled up in a park. Using his magic, Adonis managed to calm everything down. At the same time, 5 and 6 arrived in the city of Mercilessly. They had been ordered to capture both Adonis and Doroka. Before they started, 6 reminded 5 not to underestimate Adonis. He said that Adonis alone had already caused chaos in the Redia Empire and had even defeated their elite forces. Still, if they succeeded in capturing him, the reward would be immense. The two ninjutsu users decided to advance and attack Adonis from behind. But suddenly, Sagi appeared and intervened to stop them. 5 and 6 decided to deal with Sagi first before going after Adonis. Meanwhile, Doroka was busy building a grave for her fallen fellow witches. Adonis, curious, asked her why she still wanted to travel with him, considering that it was her who had once lured humans into the witches' land to wipe out the witches. Doroka replied that she didn't want to argue about it anymore. She explained that witches also had their own reasons for wanting to use Adonis to bring Chloe back to life. After this, they resumed their journey, but suddenly, Sagi appeared in front of them. He had successfully defeated 5 and 6. Adonis was glad to see him, as he finally met someone from the Empire who he could challenge. Carmi appeared via drone from the central headquarters and informed them that Adonis had underestimated humanity, making his presence easy to track. Carmi ordered Sagi to eliminate Adonis since he didn't want to work overtime that night. Sagi then approached Doroka and grabbed her by the head. Adonis, refusing to stay still, immediately pulled Doroka away and began casting his magic. However, Sagi moved swiftly, striking Adonis and sending him flying. Despite this, Adonis was still able to fire a shot, but Sagi dodged it effortlessly due to his incredible speed. At this point, Adonis began to suspect that Sagi might be a cyborg. He quickly changed his bullet to a larger one, but once again, Sagi managed to avoid it. As Doroka saw Adonis under attack, she tried to stop Sagi's movements with her love magic. Adonis initially thought this was a good opportunity to extract information, but to his surprise, Sagi wasn't affected at all. Sagi laughed and pointed out that Doroka's magic resembled the love magic of the queen. Doroka was shocked to realize that Sagi had become immune to love magic because his body had already been influenced by another form of love magic. Sagi then revealed his weapon mechanical hands that could move at incredible speeds. Adonis told Doroka to take cover, but Doroka refused, determined to fight. She claimed that she was ready and wouldn't be a burden. At that moment, Adonis crafted a special magic sword for Doroka, infused with magical energy, while he himself prepared a magic armor for his own body. The battle began. Sagi attacked with his mechanical hands. At first, Adonis thought the attacks were weak and believed they could handle them, but soon Doroka began to struggle as the relentless attacks kept coming. Sagi then increased the speed of his mechanical hands, and Adonis used his magic to shield them both. He told Doroka to hold his hand as he formed a large energy sphere. Adonis launched the sphere at Sagi. Carmi, observing via the drone, warned Sagi not to touch the sphere as it was extremely dangerous, but Sagi stubbornly tried to withstand the attack. Remarkably, Sagi managed to block it. Seeing that his attack had failed, Adonis rushed forward to strike, but Sagi quickly countered, using his mechanical hands. Doroka, still able to get up, tried to strike back at Sagi. However, her attack only targeted his legs, allowing Sagi to dodge and catch her. Adonis attempted to save Doroka, but they both were hit by Sagi's counterattack. As Sagi moved closer to finish Doroka off, Adonis quickly intervened and restrained Sagi's movements. He intended to destroy Sagi completely, but Sagi's mechanical hands attacked again, preventing Adonis from moving. Doroka, still struggling to retrieve her sword, tried to fight again, but Sagi's hands caught her and tossed her into the air. Adonis, now lying on the ground, was unable to do much. Meanwhile, Sagi, now free to move, unleashed his mechanical hands and struck Doroka, injuring her eyes.
Do you feel like, deja vu?
Doroka can no longer see because Sagi has taken his eyes. This made Adonis extremely angry. He was furious and immediately charged at Sagi. However, Sagi moved incredibly fast, kicking Adonis so hard that his magic pen fell to the ground. Adonis didn't back down, he grabbed Sagi's arm and threw him far away. But Sagi counterattacked using his mechanical arms. Fortunately, Adonis managed to create a new spell that caused the mechanical arms to attack Sagi instead. After that, Adonis hurriedly took Doroka to hide in a building. He needed to stop the bleeding in Doroka's eyes. With no other choice, Adonis was forced to use fire from Sagi's mechanical arms to cauterize Doroka's wounds. The process was excruciating, and Doroka fainted from the pain. Seeing Doroka's condition made Adonis even more furious. He summoned his giant robot, the same one he had previously used to destroy the Imperial fortress. Adonis was ready for revenge against Sagi. From a distance, Karmi warned Sagi through a drone to be careful, as the robot was extremely dangerous. But Adonis didn't care. Adonis advanced and attacked Sagi using the robot. He even declared that he would seek revenge against the queen, as Doroka was injured because of Sagi. Enraged at the insult to the queen, Sagi fought back fiercely. The battle was intense. Adonis' robot was eventually destroyed due to the brutal fight, but not before it shielded Doroka one last time. Even after the robot's destruction, Adonis and Sagi continued their relentless battle. In the midst of the fight, Sagi managed to corner Adonis, not giving him any chance to write new spells. Sagi gathered all his mechanical arms and attacked Adonis with full force. Meanwhile, Doroka regained consciousness and heard Sagi's voice. Sagi had brought the defeated Adonis to him. Sagi threw Adonis to the ground and began torturing him. Afterward, Sagi captured Doroka and started attacking him as well. Sagi declared that there could not be two wizards with love magic in this world and that he would eliminate Doroka, who had a power similar to the queen's. But before that, he wanted to finish off Adonis. Doroka, refusing to stand by, tried to reason with Sagi, saying that all of this was wrong. He reminded Sagi that humans started hunting wizards first, which led Adonis to rebel against the Empire. Doroka admitted that revenge wasn't entirely wrong but begged Sagi to stop. However, Sagi ignored him, only wanting to take Adonis' head to the queen. Cornered, Adonis asked Doroka to use his love magic on him. Adonis believed it was the only way they could survive. Although hesitant because she still respected the code of the wizards she once admired, Doroka eventually used her love magic on Adonis. With this power, Adonis became immensely stronger. He stood up and struck Sagi down. At that moment, Adonis suddenly gained insight into Doroka's past. He realized why Doroka always hesitated to use his love magic. In the past, other wizards had forbidden him from using it, deeming it disgusting because it could turn people into puppets under his control. Understanding this, Adonis told Doroka don't hold back anymore and use his body completely. Doroka, initially unsure, decided to stop holding back. She unleashed her full love magic, and the results were astonishing. Adonis' wounds healed instantly. Not only that, but his body became incredibly agile, and he gained the ability to use all types of magic. Sagi, witnessing this, was shocked and couldn't believe the overwhelming power of love magic. Out of fear, Sagi tried to escape, but Adonis wouldn't allow it. He immediately chased Sagi, who was flying in the air, and threw him so hard that he crashed through several buildings in the city. Adonis didn't stop there. He continued attacking Sagi relentlessly, tearing off the mechanical arms one by one, those same arms that had hurt Doroka. Next, he targeted Sagi's legs, cutting them off. Adonis kept hitting Sagi until his opponent could no longer move. When Sagi was completely helpless, Adonis began writing the strongest magic spell he had ever learned, a massive freezing spell with devastating effects. Feeling cornered, Sagi forced his mechanical arms to attack Adonis again, but Adonis calmly destroyed them all. Panic-stricken, Sagi turned to Doroka, begging him to stop Adonis. He warned that the spell Adonis was using would be too much for a human body to handle. But Doroka ignored him and instead told Adonis to create fire around himself to prevent his body from freezing. With no other options, Sagi launched one last desperate attack on Adonis. But before he could even get close, he was instantly frozen. Adonis' freezing spell was unbelievably powerful. The entire city of Metoles turned into ice, including the area where Punch was located. Realizing the magnitude of the disaster, Punch immediately ordered his troops to take cover, knowing that a massive blizzard was on its way due to Adonis' spell. They needed to be ready for the worst. Meanwhile, Carmi, monitoring the situation from her control room, could no longer track Sagi's condition. Her team reported that Sagi's life signals had disappeared, indicating that he was likely dead. Elsewhere, it turned out that Adonis had crafted special armor for Doroka before unleashing his freezing spell. The armor kept Doroka's body warm despite the surrounding ice. However, Adonis himself collapsed and lost consciousness. Panicked, Doroka rushed to check on him, but fortunately, Adonis was still alive. Sagi, barely clinging to life, used his last breath to ask Doroka to deliver a message to the queen if they ever met. He said, "I did my best for her." With that, Sagi's frozen body shattered into pieces. Not long after, Adonis regained consciousness and declared that he would find a way to heal Doroka's eyes. Meanwhile, Queen Dorothy was enjoying a morning run through the city. People who saw her were mesmerized by her beauty, gathering to catch a glimpse of her as she passed. After her run, Dorothy returned to her castle and summoned her soldiers. She ordered them to send messages to neighboring nations, including the military state of Mika, the ninja land of Ninjutsusun, the medical nation of Marpoint, and the matriarchal state of Mother Horizon. She declared that if these nations didn't respond, she was prepared to declare war. Back with Adonis and Doroka, they continued their journey. Adonis still hadn't found a spell to heal Doroka's eyes. Feeling guilty, Doroka apologized for forcing her love magic on Adonis. But Adonis only smiled and said it was his choice, explaining that they wouldn't have been able to defeat Sagi otherwise. He admitted that Sagi's strength had been incredible, and if they hadn't acted quickly, they might not have survived. Adonis then promised to heal Doroka's eyes, taking full responsibility for his injuries. He also covered Doroka's eyes with a cloth to shield them from others. Adonis reassured him, saying, "She can use his magic to him, no need to worry because his magic spells will not affect him." With everything prepared, the two continued their journey to their next destination. And with that, the story came to an end.